Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Unrestricted Sports. Today, we are doing our AL Week 1 breakdown. So this is kind of like a rough week-by-week situation. We're going to be breaking down the American League, and we're actually going to do this for the same thing for the National League as well, where you kind of break down what sort of happened, what the current standings are, and what we think is going to continue going forward. To start off, I do want to start off with the AL Central because that is the good old division of my Tigers, who are off to a pretty good start to the season, I'd say. We're 4-3 currently. That's middle of our division. However, most of those games have come down to the wire and have been very close. And then if the game score doesn't indicate that the game was close, it's because we had one pitcher come in there and give up a whole bunch of runs to close it off. So for the most part, the Tigers have been incredibly competitive so far. They lead the league right now in home runs. They have one of the best slugging percentages at 10th, and they have the 11th most runs. So I think this is going to be a surprise for some people, but in a shorter season, our rookies are going to do better and our older guys are going to do better. And also people have been making fun of Cabrera for the past few years, but they forget that he was going through a lot of personal issues during those times with child support, and I think there was a little bit of a custody battle between him and his wife and another woman who he had children with. So there's that whole situation there. So the main talking point for the AL Central, I think, is that a lot of people are still sleeping on the Tigers. They are a pretty good team this year, I think. The only weakness they have, it's actually the opposite way around that it's been in the past. In the past, it was that we had a weak reliever core and closers. We didn't really have any guys who could really consistently do that, so we had to rely on guys who could pitch 9 innings sometimes. It's kind of reversed now because now our relievers are actually some of the best in the league, and they've pitched, I believe, at this point now, 11 innings so far in the season where they have not given up a run. So I say that's pretty impressive.
Do you think the Tigers, given that the Twins and Indians haven't played the best competition, do you think when it comes down to it that the Tigers could beat out the Twins or Indians for second place in the division for a playoff spot?
I think the Tigers could win this division. But that being said, the Twins and Indians, I would say, are pretty much equal footing with the Tigers. I could see us splitting, and then it just comes down to winning out over the worst teams in our division.
Okay.
I don't think – actually, I will say this, though. I don't think the Indians are as good as their record currently says right now. Because some of the
teams they've been playing, yeah.
They've been playing the White Sox, who – are in the division, and they've gone 2-4 so far. So
underwhelming, to say the least, from the White Sox.
Yeah.
What was supposed to be a breakout season for the White Sox is
not off to the best start.
Not off to a good start at all. And I'm not a White Sox fan. I'm a Cubs fan, but I'll always defend my Chicago teams, and the White Sox are they look piss poor.
Yeah. And the only other team that's really worth noting that we haven't talked about already, we've talked about the Indians, we've talked about the Twins. Both solid teams. I think the Tigers are better than them because, both these teams have been playing kind of equal or subpar level teams. I mean, the Tigers have too, but I think that those teams are slightly better just because looking at the numbers, it's kind of overwhelmingly obvious that the Tigers are a very heavy offensive team in terms of their home run hitting power, at least this far into the season. The only team we haven't talked about so far, other than really we kind of glossed over the White Sox, but there's not really much to talk about there. They're underperforming right now, is with the Kansas City Royals. And the most notable news for them is not that they split the series with the Tigers this past set of games, but rather that Patrick Mahomes became a part owner of them, which seemed to embolden the Kansas City fans in the comment section of the game that I was watching. They were, talking all this smack, and then their team didn't look too great when they were playing the Tigers. Obviously, they did beat us tonight, but, I mean, it was very close. And that happens in baseball. But I think the only notable thing there is that Kansas City fans seem to think that winning a Super Bowl somehow translates to winning a World Series, which it does not. But that's really the only thing I had to get off my chest there because that's been bothering me all week, watching these Royals fans comment on the games that they're losing. Oh, well, Miggy sucks. Well, Miggy just hit 3 homers off of you. So let's keep it real here. Who's really bad here? If Miggy sucks, then what does that make your pitchers? So moving on to the East. The Yankees, I don't think anyone's surprised, are at the top of the division, but, and there is a but here, they haven't been able to play their games because of the Marlins situation. Obviously, not the best situation for them to be in. The Marlins and Phillies in the National League have been shut down, but that's for another part of the video. And that's going to be going on until at least this upcoming Saturday, I believe, is the earliest if everyone comes back clean. But with that being said, the Yankees also got caught up in that. So right now they're 3-1 at a 750 winning percentage, which is obviously above teams that have played more games like the Rays, who are 4-3, the Orioles, who are 2-2, the Blue Jays, who are 3-4, and the Red Sox, who are 2-4. I think that the most shocking out of all that is how weak of a start the Red Sox have gotten off to, going 2-4. That being said, they really haven't been playing great teams either. I mean, the Orioles and the Mets are the teams that they've played.
And it's not like I don't know if that's just because of who they're playing is playing better than them, but it's not like they're hitting bad. They're first in batting average, seventh in runs, so it's definitely something of them just getting outclassed.
Yeah, I think that it just comes down to that little extra, like it's kind of a thing, like you can have the better hitters and all that stuff, but in baseball, if it doesn't happen at the right time, it doesn't matter. For the Tigers, if they don't have enough guys on base when they hit a home run, it might be a wasted home run because the Tigers have been averaging like 2 home runs a game. That's actually a little above 2 now. It's like a decimal place higher now because they hit 3 tonight, but they've hit 2 and consistently every single game so far this season. Not to jinx it, knock on wood, baseball, karma and all that. But with that being said, I feel like maybe their timing's just off. Maybe the right things aren't happening for them right now. But I would expect the Red Sox to be surging back at some point this season. But the Rays are a surprise team for me because it's been a while since I've really considered the Rays, one of the top teams in the East. So they're obviously off to a good start.
I kind of expected them to be up at least in the top 3 in contention with the Yankees and Red Sox.
But with that being said, the important thing to note here is that at home they're really good. They're 4-1, but away they're 0-2.
Which is
so that
that's definitely not a fan thing either. So I wonder if it's just the travel.
It's. I mean, I imagine that traveling is probably taking a slight more strain than it is in normal years, just because there's a lot more precautions. There's apparently a coronavirus officer going around with the teams now after the Marlins incident to make sure that guys don't go out to clubs and party. Which apparently one Marlins player did, which brought down the whole team. So I imagine that guy's not having a great time. That hasn't been disclosed who it was, but whoever it is, everyone knows who it is. So they're just not saying it because that's a good baseball thing to do. You don't. That's not a thing that you do in baseball. So, but with all that being said, I would expect the Yankees to remain towards the top once they get back to playing games. Obviously, they had their schedule kind of messed with because of the Marlins. They're coming back this Saturday, I think, as well. And yeah, I mean, the only real standing out thing here is that the Red Sox are at the very bottom, but I think that they could bounce back from that if they get their timing down. Do you have anything more to say about the East, Nolan? Or are you good?
Not really. You covered it. I kind of expect what's going on at the top of the East right now, and the only surprise is how poor the Red Sox are in terms of starting right now. But I think that could be a quick turnaround. With such a short season, there's definitely more on the line and more for them to really play for when it comes down to it.
Definitely. Now, the final division in the American League, the West. I'm going to cover the bottom teams right now. Rangers are currently 400 at 2-3. Mariners are at 2-4. And Angels are at 2-4. That's kind of to be expected. The Rangers, Mariners, and Angels, they really haven't been players for a while now. And I was kind of expecting this from them anyway. Because the Athletics and Astros, despite their cheating, are a better team. I'm still surprised that they felt the need to cheat when that team definitely could have won without doing so. And I'm very disappointed that Justin Verlander was involved in that, being an ex-Tiger. Some would say he's got his dosage of baseball karma, unfortunately, because he is currently out for at least 2 weeks. It was originally reported that he'd be out for the rest of the season. But 2 weeks is still a very long time, especially in a shortened season on top of that. And he was a major part of that Astros team, especially in their bullpen. With that being said, the Athletics are 3-3 and the Astros are 3-3 at 500. So very uncharacteristic start for the Astros at the very least. For the Athletics, I expected them to be towards the top of this division, and that seems about right. But the Astros are usually dominant, and obviously, I think that there's a little to be said about that, given that they're currently 3-3. Might be a little too early, maybe, but for right now, it doesn't seem as though that's the case. Now to get to the part that everyone wants to hear about, the suspension that occurred to the Dodgers pitcher who was pitching against the Astros. He threw behind Correa, and
behind Bregman. He threw behind Bregman.
And Bregman too.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I believe so.
Jeez.
And so Joe Kelly, which is the name of this pitcher, received a 8-game suspension. All right, I want to put this in perspective for everybody. No one was suspended, or no one was thrown out of the game. Okay, that's first off right there. No one was thrown out of the game. Was anyone hit by a pitch? No. To those who say, well, Joe Kelly wasn't part of the Dodgers the year that they lost the Astros. You're right, but he was a part of the Red Sox who lost the Astros in the ALDS. So I think every pitcher who played against the Astros is justified in being mad. So that's not an argument. So I want to get into this, why this suspension is completely an embarrassment to the MLB. I could see if he hit the Astros players. Yeah. He didn't hit the Astros players. I could see it if he started the physical part of the fight that occurred. He didn't start it, though. The Astros did. It was the Astros who came out of their dugout to confront him. It was the Astros who initiated the physical contact, which is what the MLB is upset about. So why is he getting the suspension? He got suspended for 8 games. Let me put that in perspective for you. That's 22 games if this was a regular season. That's never happened before for anything that wasn't a domestic issue off of the field, okay? That's ridiculous, okay? And that's 8 more games than any of the Astros players got suspended for. And that's the problem here. This is an embarrassment for the MLB. No one was even hit by a pitch, and the only fight that was started was by the Astros physically starting the fight. This is an embarrassment, and I 100% support Joe Kelly getting completely reinstated, no game suspended, maybe 1 game suspended, but that doesn't matter for pitchers because that just means that you can't play the next game, which obviously if you're a pitcher, you aren't pitching every game. That's what this should be.
I honestly think that any pitcher is justified in throwing a bad pitch to the Astros. I mean,
if someone was hit, I could see
different
a
story.
4 game.
Yeah,
it would be a different story. Maybe 4 games, but no one was hit, and this is an embarrassment to the MLB because they didn't suspend any of the actual cheaters. They are punishing people for literally cheating the whole season, cheating their way to a World Series, but they'll happily punish someone for what would be 22 games in a normal season. All right, for not even hitting an Astros player. They are being overprotective of the Astros. If someone gets hit, fine. Feel free to suspend them. Not 8 games, though. Even if it was someone who got hit, not 8 games. This is ridiculous. Rob Manfred has really proved why he's a lawyer and not a baseball player. And if I was an MLB owner right now, I would 100% be petitioning among the other owners, hey, let's get this stooge out of here. He doesn't know what he's doing. He's a lawyer. He's never played baseball. And he is degrading the moral fiber of the game.
Yeah.
Obviously, if someone was hit, there needs to be a suspension, but no one was hit. And the Astros started the physical fight. And that's the problem here. So hopefully that gets resolved for Joe Kelly. Obviously, he has a new fan. I think he has a lot of new fans. And I think he's only the first pitcher who's going to do this because I think all these other pitchers across the league have seen this. And I think they're thinking to themselves, he got suspended 8 games for not even hitting the guy. And the Astros started the physical part of the fight. I think all the other pitchers in the league just looked at that and said, yeah, I'm going to make it worth my time. So Astros players, don't be expecting to get thrown behind you or close inside the zone now. You're going to get hit now because they see that they're going to be suspended at least 8 games just for throwing too close to you. That makes you a little upset. So that's pretty much it for the West. That's really what I wanted to talk about. I think that's a big part of what's been happening. I think a lot of people are upset about this. Rob Manfred handled the whole thing completely wrong, and he's botched multiple investigations for the MLB now. And I think his time is very limited as MLB commissioner because honestly, I can't see a baseball fan who wouldn't want to punch this dude in the face. Nolan, do you have anything you want to add to that, or are you satisfied with our first week breakdown of the MLB for the American League?
Yeah, I'm pretty satisfied with that. I don't think anybody in the AL West is really. I know this is super early to really give a projection, but nobody's hitting well in the AL West. All average or below average, except the Angels who have an okay batting average, but that
But
clearly
they're the
hasn't.
worst, and they're
But that clearly
yeah, that
hasn't
clearly hasn't helped
translated to
them.
points. Um,
Um,
but definitely with the Astros thing, I think the Astros are just getting started with what's going to be some tough pitching for them.
yeah,
In terms of just
they.
close pitches or purposely hit, because there are
I mean,
plenty of
pitchers see the.
teams that would, and honestly, they're lucky. This is a shortened season.
Yeah,
Like,
I mean, they're gonna get. I think that it's gonna carry over into next season just because everyone knows they got off easy.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
Definitely,
and
definitely some shame upon the possible suspension that Joe Kelly could have, because
well,
definitely
here's the thing
undeserving of it.
that actually emboldens the pitchers though, because suspending a guy who threw close to him, pitchers are gonna say, okay, well, if I want to throw at the Astros, you're not gonna change their mind by suspending the guy for 8 games. Do they know what the guy who's gonna get suspended anyway is gonna say? They suspended him 8 games for just throwing close. That pitcher's gonna hit you now. So that's what's gonna happen. And right or wrong, whether you think it's right or wrong, that's what's going to happen. And part of it is it's self-inflicted. This is 100% self-inflicted. You cannot blame these teams for being upset, and especially not pitchers, guys whose careers were ruined by the Astros because everyone says, "Oh, they're a trash pitcher." The Astros tee off on them. No, they actually just knew what was coming. So that's pretty much it for the American League, everybody. It turned into more of an anti-Astros rant. I'm partially so upset about this because I used to like the Astros because Verlander went there, and I was happy when they won their World Series, only to find out that it was completely fraudulent and undeserved. So, with that being said, guys, if you hate the Astros, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and we will see you guys next time. Peace.